Marhaban everyone, and welcome to this video from 360arabic.com. In this video, we will be talking about the moon letters and the sun letters. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, please feel free to download your free ebook, The Letters and Sounds of Arabic, by going to 360arabic.com or by clicking on the link in the description below. It's important for us to distinguish between two categories of letters of sounds in Arabic. One is called moon letters and the other one is sun letters. So let's discover them together. These are the two categories. This group right here is called moon letters, and this group right here is called sun letters. Unfortunately, there is nothing mystical about this. It's just a distinction based on the rule of phonology. Now, this classification is mainly linked to the introduction of the definite pronoun al. If you say kalb, which is dog, kalb. Al-kalb is the dog. So kalb is dog. Alif lam is what introduces the definite pronoun. Shams, sun, shams, shams is a sun. Ash-shams is the sun. Shams, ash-shams. If you noticed, I did not pronounce the lam here because sh, the first letter, is one of the sun letters. So each time you write al, which is the definite pronoun the, and the word coming afterwards starts with any of these letters, you do not pronounce the lam. Like ash-shams. Ash-shams. You don't say al-shams. Ash-shams. Let's look at a different word. Let's pick a noun in Arabic with ra. Raml. Raml, sand. If we want to express the definite pronoun and say, this sand, we have to do alif lam plus raml. The resulting word is ar-raml. We don't use the lam here. It's like we omit the pronunciation of the sound l. Ar-raml, because ra is a sun letter. On the other hand, qamar, qa, ma, r, a moon, starts with qaf, which is a moon letter. And therefore, when I introduce the definite pronoun, I pronounce the lam, al-qamar. So, al-qamar, al-qamar. Let's pick another word. Arabic. Arabiya. If we want to say the Arabic language, remember the ayn? Al-Arabiya. So we pronounce the lam because ayn, which is the first letter in the word, is a moon letter. Now I hope we established that the difference between these two categories, the moon letters and the sun letters, is nothing but a phonetic distinction between letters that allow the lam to be expressed and pronounced, and these are the qamar or the moon letters, like al-qamar, and the other sounds that sort of prohibit us from using the lam sound, like ash-shams. We don't say al-shams, ash-shams. Now we have two options for learners to follow, and your choice is going to be entirely dependent on you, because some learners are very good with lists and memorizing letters and memorizing sounds, while others are better with following the logic and not worrying about memorizing sets of sounds or sets of letters. And so here is the rationale. This is why we have moon letters and sun letters, and it's something that you really have to look for to find it. It's surprisingly not available. And it took me a while to actually figure out the reason. It's just right there in front of you. It all has to do with place of articulation. Remember that the moon letters, let's go over them. There's really nothing in common between a, b, j, h, ch. Really nothing in common. Not in terms of place of articulation or manner of articulation. There is really nothing in common. You look at the sun letters, and if you really look at them closely, you start finding that there is something in common after all. T, th, d, th, r, z, s. They all have something in common. All the sun letters actually involve the use of the alveolar ridge. It's that part of the hard palate that's just above your front teeth. It's where you place your tongue to pronounce sounds like d, 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 right above your upper teeth. There is a hard part of your palate that's called the alveolar ridge. And all the sounds in that category involve the use of the alveolar ridge. And guess what? Lam does too. English-speaking children do something interesting. They would actually transform or change the word tree, and pronounce it as T. We're talking kids 3, maybe sometimes even close to 4 years old. So the R is dropped. Instead of tree, they say T. Instead of stay, they say say. They drop the T. In the word tree, they drop the R because the alveolar ridge is busy. Because T and R both involve the deployment of the alveolar ridge. So tree, you're actually double tapping the alveolar ridge to produce these sounds in consecutively. So T and R are very hard to produce back to back for children. Same thing for T and S. T and S, although S is more like an interdental, but the alveolar ridge is busy. The tongue is covering it. And so it's hard to say T, S, because you'll be using the alveolar ridge twice. In some languages, they're able to do that. They're able to perform that surprisingly well with clicks and all sorts of amazing sounds. But in English, with children especially, it's really hard to reproduce sounds from the same place. And this is a principle in phonology that's called cluster reduction. What the children here are doing is that, you know what? I'm not going to worry about T plus R. I'm going to say T, but you know what? I'm not going to go back to R. I'm just going to continue because I'm busy. So they say T instead of tree. Same thing for stay, S. My alveolar ridge is busy, so I'm not going to bother, and I'm just going to continue with the next sound. Let's apply this principle of cluster reduction when we distinguish between moon letters and sun letters. So, you start with alif, right? Then lam. Then we have a letter here, let's call it X. we have to make a decision. Is this letter going to use or keep our alveolar ridge busy? If the answer to that is yes, that means that we're going to drop the lam. And therefore, you end up with a sun letter. If you're creating a cluster between the lam and the next letter, you drop the lam. For example, al, and you're adding the sound for example, semen, which is ghee, type of butter. Now, lam occupies the alveolar ridge, we know that. The question is, does this sound do the same? In this particular case, yes. Then drop the lam. We have a sun letter, and therefore we drop the lam. The resulting word would be as-semen, as-semen. On the other hand, if we have a word that starts with the sound m, as in, let's say, mouse, mouse, banana. If we want to add alif lam, then we have to try to see if this will create a cluster. La occupies the alveolar ridge, we know that. Does the next sound do the same? In this case, no. M is purely bilabial. Ma does not occupy the alveolar ridge, and therefore no clusters are detected, and the word is going to be pronounced entirely. Al-Mawz. Al-Mawz. Let's look at some examples. طاولة, table, طاولة. If you're familiar with some Eastern languages, you would probably hear tavula, which is a word that's derived from طاولة. طاولة, طاولة. We add al. We have two options, al-طاولة or الطاولة. Now, let's look at ta, ta. You don't have to go to the list, really. Just pronounce ta, ta. Does your tongue sit up top and covers your alveolar ridge or not? In this case, yes. Ta, ta. Your tongue is directly hitting the space above your upper teeth. Ta. And therefore, l and ta would create a cluster. Then we drop the lam to avoid the cluster. And therefore, it's going to be at-tawila. It's a sun letter. Try doing the same with the word qalb, qalb. Heart, qalb. The heart. Al plus qalb. Now, does qa involve a cluster? Does it create a cluster? It doesn't. Qa is really pronounced from the back of the throat. It has nothing to do with the place of articulation of lam. No cluster is detected, and therefore we can pronounce the lam al-qalb. So it's a moon letter, qa. Let's look at manzil. Manzil is house. Al-manzil, the house, or am-manzil, the house. Which one is it going to be? M is bilabial. That's your lips working. The alveolar ridge is not occupied by your tongue at all. Ma, ma, ma. Therefore, no cluster detected. It is a al-manzil. Finally, tamr, tamr. Al-tamr, at-tamr, al-tamr. Which one? Well, we know that ta, try pronouncing ta. Ta and ta, we said, are the same, really. Just ta is thicker and bolder. And so ta definitely uses your alveolar ridge, and therefore it causes a cluster. We call cluster here. And this cluster needs to be eliminated. Therefore, the lam should go, and we say at-tamr, not al-tamr. One thing you may have noticed with words that start with sound letters is that the first sound becomes emphasized. So, طاولة, when we add the alif lam, the definite article, we don't pronounce the lam, but the resulting word is الطاولة, الطاولة. Similarly, التمر, التمر, الشمس, الشمس. So, when you use alif lam with a sound letter, the first sound of the word is emphasized and therefore deserves a shadda. Now please remember, there are two ways of doing this. You can either learn the sounds and the letters, or you can reason your way through this. You need to be able to tell which sounds are keeping your alveolar ridge busy. But some students are really good with lists and they want to learn that way. If that's your preference, then I recommend that you only learn the set of sound letters, because those are the ones that would require you to drop the lam. Anything other than that, you will pronounce the lam. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps elucidate the differences between sound letters and moon letters. Please feel free to share the ebook with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And ma'assalam.